Hi, I'm Stacie, and this is Practical ESL. Today, I want to talk to you about reading instruction in the secondary ESL classroom. And this is a really big deal to me because when I taught my students, there was just a lot of things I really wanted them to know, and I worked hard to figure out what I could do to help them better. So I'm going to show you some things today. Let's see. The first one is just, this is me. And here's a little bit of background. I know that I had a little background video earlier, but in case you haven't seen that, I taught ESL in China for 6 years. I taught ESL in Spain for pre-K through 12th grade for 1 year. I am certified in CELTA. I have my ESL certification, my SPED certification, K through 6 in all subjects. I have 7 through 12 in ELA and as well as social studies. I taught second grade for a while. I taught high school ESL. I'm currently supporting middle school and high school campuses in their content in ESL for their content and ESL teachers across Dallas, Texas. So that's a little bit about me and some of my background and kind of what led me here. So in the places that I have lived around the world or had planned to live and maybe wasn't able to go because of COVID or something, the first thing that I always do when I learn another language is figure out, how does that alphabet work? And if they don't have an alphabet, if they, like for Chinese, they had pinyin, and it was kind of this cheat system for foreigners that they could look at how the words sound, even though the words are written actually in characters. But you would take that alphabet and compare it to the English alphabet, and that would give me a foundation for learning that language. And without that, I wouldn't have known how to read. I would have been illiterate. And so that was what I did every time I went to another country. So my question would be, why would I expect to do anything different from my students in my classroom? And that was really the reason why I researched this and like did all that I could to find just a plan for my students. I know that in public schools across the US, we've got to focus in secondary, especially, we have to focus on those contents. So they're getting their English classes and their math and their science and their social studies. There's so much to learn in so little time. But what I see happening is that we have this content that is way up here, and we are expecting our kids to go from not having any foundation to being up here, all in the name of rigor. And I'm all about rigor, and I am all about giving our kids equal content because they need that. So I don't want them to miss out on that. But I also want to find a way to give them that foundation and give them those tools that they need to be up here and to go there quickly. To fast track it is really what I want to do. Another issue that we have with phonics, or thinking about the word phonics for secondary, is that number one, most secondary teachers don't know how to teach phonics. I just happened to teach second grade before I moved to high school, and crazy, but it really helped me a lot. The problem is that the materials that I had were childish. And so when you look at that, you don't want to teach a high schooler these little phonics cutesy things, right? So I was doing some research and trying to figure out, and one thing that I found was that I was taking too long to teach them phonics, and like I didn't want to take up the time that they need to learn that content. And I went to a webinar by Salva and really love her. She wrote Boosting Achievement. You can get that on Amazon. She has a blog that is amazing and has a lot of resources for teachers. Probably you have already heard about her, but just in case, I'm going to put all of these links in the space below this YouTube video. And then she has a Padlet that she uses that she gives teachers lots of resources. And she did a post on secondary phonics and that kind of thing. And it really got my mind thinking about different things that I could do, or ways that I could do it differently than I had already done. So I want to give her credit for that. During the time that I was listening to her and looking at all of her resources, she also talked about VirtuEL, and it was a conference that I went to, was a free conference. And this guy, Francisco Harvey, Oaxaca, he gave a presentation, and I'm going to put his link below as well, because he had a lot of great ideas. But he talked about how secondary kids need environmental print. And I thought, oh my gosh, why have I not thought about this before? And so I started looking for environmental print for my kids, but I felt like it wasn't, the things that I was finding weren't super applicable. And so I went on to try to make my own. Somewhere in there, I have always, since I taught second grade, I learned about This Reading Mama, and she has a website, and she has teacher paid teachers and all the things, and she has tons of things to help kids learn how to read. And I really love her. And somebody, and I wish that I could give credit to this person because I don't remember who it was, but they told me, or maybe I just found it, and it could have been Carol Salva. I'm not sure, but she gave she has a phonics assessment on This Reading Mama. She has a phonics assessment, and it's super simple. And the problem was I was a second grade teacher, and we got to take a whole year to teach all of the phonics things. So I was trying to figure out, how do I squeeze that into 1 or 2 weeks for my secondary kids? And This Reading Mama, she has this phonics assessment that can do that, because she has it broken down into like 12 categories. And from that, I broke it into a few less. So I would take her assessment and I would give that to my students like the first or second day that they came to class. And then like a couple weeks later, when we finish our phonics, I would give it to them again so that they could see how much they advanced. And so I kind of did one, I worked on CVC words, and all of these, it kind of will show you what those are. Because again, I taught second grade, so we learned all of these terms, right? Then blends, and then digraphs, and then bossier, and then the CVCE, and then vowel digraphs, vowel diphthongs, closed syllables, and open syllables. And so she has some other things in her assessment as well. And I think that those are also great. And if you had time, it would be great to do something with those. These are the ones that I focused on, and I would give them that assessment again, and they would all do better because they knew these things and it got them through the other things as well. The one that I think I should add is like the IGH, the sounds that those will be in there, but you'll see those on her assessment. Okay. So here is kind of some things that I did, like just separating vowels and consonants and letting them know what are the differences here and what are we talking about. And then CVC words, a consonant, vowel, and a consonant, and how that vowel in the middle says it's short sound, right? And then a list of vowels, short vowels, and long vowels. And you can see we used environmental print. And then I have like all alphabets like that. You can see the whole thing, and every alphabet letter has an environmental print piece with it. And then students can learn from that, and they can learn to read basically. The magic E, or the CVCE, and how if you take a CVC word and you add an E at the end, it changes that vowel to say its name, and then the E is silent. And then two vowels walk together. The first one says its name. And so like OU says O, and except for when it says owl, right? But that's English. Okay. And so then I made some things like this that would be like the whole page, and I could just give it to my students when we were learning about that. And I would also have it up on the big screen. So the thing is that everybody knows, I think, that phonics alone is not enough. And that's why, anybody who is solely teaching phonics, then your kids still need their sight words, and there are many other strategies. And in a future video, I'm going to tell you about different strategies that you can use in the classroom when you're not teaching phonics. But if you pair phonics with those sight words, those are a great team. And if you took just a very short time at the beginning of your semester when your kids arrive, and you taught them phonics with sight words, and you kind of focused those in their reading, it is a huge thing for them. And so that's what my TA and I did. We put this together. We used our names and our little, emojis or whatever. And we added our students. So we would talk about our students in the stories, and we would have, just like 2 lines, but every word that we gave them was either a sight word that we covered or one of those things in the list of the assessments, and we did them all separately. So first day I'm teaching CVC words, and then we have one story that's just CVC words. So that story is pretty easy, and you're going to be like, I shouldn't do this for secondary, but you could if you're just taking 2 weeks to teach it all, and then you're giving them some resources to continue to learn on their own. And so it doesn't, if you look at the story that is the first one, you're going to be like, oh, this is terrible. But as you go on, it builds and all of those sight words build, and then you would see it. So then at the end, we would take them, all the words together, and put them all in a paragraph form, and all the students would read that together. And so that's super powerful because you can have choral reading. You can be putting your finger along the words as you read them. Everybody can be reading out loud, and all of the words that you cover there, you've already read them once. They're already part of the story that had pictures, and then you're going to require them to read it. And so this is going to prepare them for the rest of the semester as they continue to learn those words and how to like make a picture in their head of the words that they're reading. So those are all things that was part of the plan for this. Okay, so what I did is hopefully what will help you, because everywhere I look, I hear teachers who they were not, elementary teachers, and they don't know how to teach phonics, and they don't know what to do for their kids, and they're looking for curriculum, and they're looking for all of that. And so I just wanted to make it for you. So this is me making it for you. I'm going to show you this. Below, I'm going to put a link to a web page that I made. And when you go in here and you click the web page, it's going to take you to this slide. And this is a slide that you can use to teach your students. And I'm just going to move this so you can see over here too. And so just as you go through, it's going to teach you how you can teach your sight words. And then if we go back, consonant blends, it's going to do the same thing. And I've got the environmental print for you, and you can see how to do that with your students. And then when you go back, it goes all the way down through all of those, and it will show you different ways to teach it. And then it will give you some PDFs, like a PDF of the alphabet, so that you can see, you can give this to your students and they would have all of the words and letter sounds right there. You can go back, and there's charts like the long vowel and the short vowel chart, so that they could see the difference between the long sound and the short sound. Okay. So then over here, I put links. I put links to, I got my sight words off of Amazon and Teachers Pay Teachers, and there is a really cool thing on here. So it is like these words that they take those sight words and they put them, they kind of make that word a picture. And I think that's really great for kids to learn very quickly. And so I just kind of took those and made little PowerPoints with them and then showed them to my students. So that would be one thing. And then another one is the link for the Teachers Pay Teachers ones, and then story samples. So if you click on here, then you can see the stories that my TA and I made. If you want to write me and let me know, because I'm going to give you the link to my webpage. And if you want to write me and let me know that you want these like as a PowerPoint or something to do with your kids, then I'm glad to share them with you. But I will say that they are specifically me and my TA, and you'll hear like Miss Davenport, blah, 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 and Miss Mancia, and you'll hear our names, and then we use our student names and those kind of things in this. So it's very much catered to our kids. And some of it, we had some bad grammar and some mistakes. This was our first draft. So you'll just have to, bear with us, but you'll go through and you'll hear us, and we made videos of all of them.
Hello, this is a short story about Miss Davenport and Miss Mancia.
Esta es una historia corta sobre Miss Davenport y Miss Mancilla.
And we're going to use our CVC words. Miss Davenport and Miss Mancia can run.
We run for fun.
Okay, so like I said, this is going to show you all the different ones, and some like the first one and second one are super simple because we're just getting those small words and a couple sight words, but then they get more difficult as they go, and they include more students, and they're kind of funny, but we kind of have a silly humor. So there's that. And then I also have a link to the Reading Mama's phonics assessment. You sign up to be on her email list or whatever, but it's a free assessment. So I cannot recommend it more highly. So what you would do is give your kids that assessment, then you would go through this with them. I'm going to put all of these links in the chat below, and then you're going to have this already. And I'm also going to put this on my blog, and I'm going to give you the link to my website. So I hope that this is helpful. And if it is helpful, please put some comments in the space below and like my page and follow it and share it with a friend. So thanks so much for joining me today.